Hey everybody. I wanted to talk to you tonight about one of those tools that you will go for just about every time that you've got a project going, and that is your cordless drill. And I wanted to show you a couple tonight and point out some pros and cons of these different drills and kind of tell you what you should be looking for. We'll start with this one. Now, when we're talking about brands, I'm going to suggest on these cordless drills that you go with a name brand. It doesn't have to be DeWalt or Milwaukee or anything like that, but go with a name brand. If for no other reason, you know you're going to be able to get good batteries for those things. Okay, that makes a big difference. Now, this is an 18-volt DeWalt, and I've had this for a long time, and I use it almost every single day. It's just one of those that you can't do without a really good drill. And what's really nice is as the price of batteries has come down, the price of these tools has also come down with that. So you can get yourself into a really nice tool that's going to last you quite a while without having to spend a fortune. You're going to have to spend something. Okay? Don't cheap out. It's better to wait till you got the money than to go buy a cheap drill. Okay, I don't care what brand or what color you get, but to save your cash, get something that's pretty good. Now, here's a couple things that you're going to want to look for, and one of the best pieces of advice I can give you when you're looking at a drill is go put it in your hand. Okay, don't buy it just because so-and-so said this or so-and-so said that. Go put it in your hand. Now, I've got large hands. This is a big drill, and it's comfortable. I will tell you, this is heavy. This is an older drill, older batteries, and this one clocks in right at about 5 pounds. And 5 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're doing a lot of work with that and you're trying to maneuver and everything else, after an hour with that, you start to feel that weight. All right, get it in your hand, see what it feels like. Okay, this is something you're going to be using all the time. You want it to feel good in your hand. You want to look for where the reverse switch is. Okay, this is something you want to be able to hit without having to think about it. Most drills are ambidextrous. Most, okay? It doesn't matter if you're right or left-handed, but get that in your hand, see where that reverse switch is. Can you get your fingers to it comfortably while you're working? Okay? Most drills you're going to find are going to be 2 speeds. You're going to have a slow speed. This one only goes up to about 500 RPM, but a whole lot of torque. It's great for driving screws, pulling screws. Okay. High speed. This one goes up to about 1700 RPM. That's for drilling holes. Any kind of material. Most of the drills you're going to find are going to have a clutch on them. That clutch, now this one shows you here, it's got the drill bit. This is wide open. This isn't going to stop for anything. And then you go all the way back down here to 1. Now if we set this on low speed, now think if you're driving drywall screws, okay, something that you don't want to go all the way in. If you're driving something into a softer material, maybe you're driving a softer screw head like brass, and you don't want to over torque that, you use that clutch. Now when it tightens up, you're going to hear that clutch kick in here in a sec. Hear that click? That just tells it once it gets to whatever that torque setting is, it's not going to allow the chuck to turn any further. And it progressively gets more and more severe. Now I know that up about 15, 16, I can't stop this thing. That's effectively wide open. But down here in the low single digits, you can drive drywall screws, and that works pretty well as long as you're careful. Most of these are going to have a keyless chuck. That is the way to go. Now, what am I talking about, a keyless chuck? You can open and close the chuck jaws on this without having to use a key. Stand by. Let me go grab a chuck with a key on it. Okay, here's what I'm talking about when I say a keyed chuck. You've seen these before. Chucks have the stepped gear around the outside, and to open the jaws on that chuck you need to use a key, and you lock that key in and you turn it and it opens the jaws on the chuck. It's not a big deal until you're up on the ladder, and guess what the first thing is that you're going to drop? Okay, keyless chucks for the applications we're talking about here, we're not talking about doing any sort of heavy duty driving. We're not punching big holes through timbers. We're not, trying to drive huge lag screws or, drill through concrete. This gives you a really solid mechanical connection, but I've never had this keyless chuck slip on me when I've been working. Okay. A couple other minor things that you can look for. Most of these things, and it seems trivial until you're up underneath a counter or your dashboard, when you engage the drill, the light comes on. It's kind of a nice thing to have. Most of them are going to do that now. But, that is a 5-pound, 18-volt DeWalt drill, and I have used this on just about every project that I've done around here. Now, I've got another one sitting over here that is something else for you to consider. Maybe you don't need something quite this big. Okay, this has got a 1/2-inch chuck on it. This will open up and will accept a 1/2-inch shank on your bit, your auger, whatever you're dealing with. Okay, now if you don't need something quite that big, maybe you got smaller hands, you don't want something that massive. Here's one from Milwaukee, and this is a 12-volt drill. Smaller chuck. This one will go to 3/8 of an inch, and I'm telling you, for almost everything that you're going to be doing with this, 3/8 of an inch is great, but the form factor is much, much smaller. Now, this is a much newer drill. If we compare those two, the business end of things, the motor, that's fairly comparable, okay? But the grip is much, much smaller on this, and it weighs just about half what this does. This comes in just over 2.5 pounds. It's very comfortable. Again, you've got your switch where you can get at it. It's ambidextrous. You can, if you're left-handed, if you need to work with your other hand, that switch is going to be where you can get at it. This one is small enough and light enough that you can clip it onto your belt. This clip can be mounted on the other side. Sometimes maybe you're working and you've got your hammer hanging off your right side and you don't want this over there. Well, then put it over on the other side. Same idea as the other. It's 2 speeds. This one does spin just a hair slower than the DeWalt, and I think that's just a matter of gearing. But you've got a low speed for torque and you've got a high speed for drilling. You've got a chuck that is keyless again. You've got a clutch so you can set your drive depth. Very small batteries on this. Okay, but newer drill, newer tech. Okay. The other thing that's nice about when you're shopping these things is think about, these companies are going to try to sell you, a system. Okay. If you have a Milwaukee, if you have a DeWalt, then you can get other tools that use that same battery. It just makes sense. Why would you go and, as I sit here, are 2 different drills? But I got this one. This one stays out in the garage. This is the one that I grab for small jobs. This is the one if I'm out there and you got to tighten something around the yard. That's where this goes. In the shop, for anything big, I go to this one. But if you're going to be building a stable of tools, pick a brand. start with the drill. This is going to be the one that you're going to be using all the time. And find one that's comfortable to your hand, and that way you can go and you can get other tools that are going to use that same battery, and it's going to work out really well for you. All right, so your cordless drill, find one that you like, buy a name brand. You're going to spend a little bit of cash, but it's not horrible. I looked these up to get something comparable to this DeWalt. Now the sets, you get the cordless drill, battery, you get a charger, and you can get a set that comes with a impact driver that we'll cover in another video. You'll get an impact driver and a carrying bag, and that comes in at about $150. That is not bad for a tool you use constantly, and it lasts. You know, this is over 10 years old. It's a wonderful tool. This one, same thing, and that's the other big reason that I ended up with this one. My dad had one, loved it, but didn't have the impact driver to go with it. Went down to our friends at Hiller's. They had a 2-pack, the drill with the impact driver, carry case, charger, 2 batteries. That was $140. That is a whole lot of tool. So my dad got the impact driver because I got the DeWalt. Okay, it's a great tool to have. For $150 for a tool that you use all the time, spend the money, get something that you like. You're going to love it. Hey, if you got any questions, you can hit me up at that email. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We'll catch you guys next time.